Hello everyone, welcome to MediaNama. Recently, sexually explicit deepfake images of singer Taylor Swift have been circulating on the internet, especially on X, where Taylor Swift AI was a trending topic for 2 days. While X has temporarily blocked searches for Taylor Swift on the platform, but of course, this hasn't entirely stopped the circulation of the questionable content. Alongside, the US lawmakers on January 30 introduced a new bill that allows victims of AI generated porn and deepfakes to sue for compensation. This bill came right after the sudden rise in deepfake images of Taylor Swift that prompted the White House to call for legislation to protect people from AI porn. We have with us MediaNama journalist Sarvesh Mathi, who has written about the issue, to talk to us more about the challenges in detecting and regulating deepfakes. So, hi Sarvesh, what does the Taylor Swift deepfake row tell us about the challenges associated with detecting synthetic content and identifying the perpetrators who create and distribute them?
Yeah, so with the Taylor Swift incident, what happened was we still do not know the actual origin of the content. So one theory was that it was first circulated on Telegram
Hmm.
and then shared on Twitter, and that it was made using this tool called Microsoft Designer. But there's no way to attribute like a particular tool to the creation of it. Eventually, later, another report stated that it was actually made on a 4chan channel, and
Hmm.
from there it came to Telegram, and from Telegram it came to Twitter or X. So this is usually the pipeline that is used for all kinds of illegal sexually explicit material, 4chan to Telegram, Telegram to X. And it
Okay.
seems to have followed a similar pattern, but we do not know the origin of it, and we do not know which tool was used exactly. We can't say it with 100% accuracy. That's one of the problems with identifying the source of a deepfake. The other problem is detecting and controlling these deepfakes. So when there was the sudden rise on Twitter, what the platform did was it took down the main post, the post which got like uh, almost like a million views, 45 million views actually, and hundreds of thousands of likes. It took down that post, but there were multiple other posts which took the images and recirculated them and reshared them. And Twitter couldn't go and take down each of these posts proactively. What they instead did was they banned the search for Taylor Swift AI. So if you went and searched for Taylor Swift AI on the search bar, it would show an error saying that the results are not being provided currently. But again, this was not a foolproof mechanism because we had some users who just could get around this so easily by just putting inverted commas around AI. So Taylor Swift inverted comma AI,
Hmm.
close comma. So it was so easy to just bypass the system, and that's because it's currently impossible to detect these deep fakes at a scale of a social media platform like X at least. And it's impossible to proactively take them down. The only way to take them down is after it's being flagged, by which time enough damage is usually done, and it proliferates to many other platforms. If you leave X
Hmm.
and go look at the more underground channels, they all still contain the images, and it shouldn't be hard for someone who's actually looking for these to go to Google and find these through by just searching for them. So that's the problem with identification and detection of the Taylor Swift and deepfakes in general.
Hmm. So the U.S. government has responded by, introducing a new bill called the Disrupt Explicit Forged Images and Non-Consensual Edits Defiance Act of 2024. What are the issues that this particular bill aims to address?
Yeah, so the Defiance Act, I'm not exactly sure if it was directly in response to the Taylor Swift incident, but it came right after the Taylor Swift incident. And there was this joke going around that the only person who can make the US government respond is Taylor Swift and her fans, which seemed apt
Hmm.
to the situation. Firstly, it shouldn't take a celebrity to bring attention to these issues. We also saw in India how when the Rashmika Mandana deepfake went around, that's when the government responded. The IT minister said that they're working on rules. It shouldn't take a celebrity to bring the government's attention to this because it affects regular citizens just as badly or as much as it affects
Right.
celebrities. Anyone's images can be used to create deepfakes, but that's what happens. And setting that aside, the Defiance Act in the US, what it basically does, it criminalizes the sharing of AI created explicit images. So when if there is an AI created explicit image, the person who's the victim of this can go and seek compensation from the person who created it, the person who's sharing it, and even have it taken down from the platforms that have created it. You'd think that there would already be such a law, but in the US, there is no federal law that criminalizes deepfakes. There are some states which have certain laws that provide citizens rights and allows them to like file cases against deepfake. But there's no universal law. There's no law that applies to all states in the US. So this is the first bill that tries to provide victims of deepfakes an avenue. But then the problem with this is that the victim
Hmm.
has to identify who created that particular content. So who will you seek compensation from if you can't identify who created it? And that's a very challenging problem when we're looking at it online. Just as we
Hmm.
explained previously with the Taylor Swift incident, we still do not know the one person who created that content. So how will we file a case against them when we do not know who did it? And two, it only becomes the content is only taken down after it's been flagged. So this is again a reactive measure. You can go and sue someone after they posted something online or sharing something online. You cannot prevent that content from going. And it only takes few hours for some content to go viral or like few days for it to go viral and
Exactly.
cause enough
Hmm.
damage. So how are you going to get remedy from this lawsuit? So those are the two issues with that particular bill. And again, with US, there might be like tens of hundreds of bills like this which are still stuck. We still have bills
Mhm.
from last 2 3 years which haven't made much progress. So we must take it with a grain of salt as to whether this bill will become a reality or not.
Right. So there's also the No AI Fraud Act in the United States. It was introduced in January. The bill also like deals with similar issues. What exactly does the No AI Fraud Act talk about?
So the No AI Fraud Act is a very interesting bill. It came out earlier this year and it has received a lot of attention. What it does is it protects an individual's voice and their likeness. So likeness is basically any attribute or quality that can be used to identify an individual. So, for example, my face is one of my likeness because it can be used to identify me. My voice is
Right.
one. So, any other, it doesn't specify specifically what all characteristics, but any characteristic that uh, can be used to identify an individual, that's considered likeness. And the bill basically provides intellectual property rights to my voice and my likeness. So I own the copyright to my voice, I own the copyright to my likeness. Anyone who uses it for anything without consent, without my permission, is going to face a lawsuit. It's illegal. So this is in a way going to curb deep fakes or any kind of AI related content because AI
Mm.
generates content because AI deepfakes generally use your facial features or your voice for
Right.
voice
Right.
cloning, any kind of video cloning. So all of your features are protected by that act. So that's how that act works by providing you intellectual property rights. But it has received a lot of criticism for this very reason because, in a way, it might be uh, curbing your freedom of speech and expression, which is a
Mm.
big thing in the US. The First Amendment is a very broad right in the US, giving you the freedom of speech and expression. The reason why critics are against this particular bill is because if you have intellectual property rights over your voice, you can just go and sue anyone, even if they try to do a parody of you, a cartoon of you,
Mm.
or any. If you take, for example, Saturday Night Live, it's a popular show in the US, and they
Yeah.
frequently do skits of politicians like mimicking them, copying their body language and all that. This bill might prevent such kind of parodies. Or even take, for example, an extreme instance of you recording someone on your phone,
Hmm.
own family member. That might be violating this bill because you are capturing their voice, their likeness, and everything without their consent. You can't be getting consent each time you're doing this as well. So those are some of the problems with this. And because it comes with so many problems, social media platforms might be very hesitant to host a range of content. They may just say that we don't allow satire
Hmm. Hmm.
because they'll be the ones facing the lawsuit if someone files a
Exactly.
lawsuit asking them to take it down. So there are some criticisms. We get into it in more detail in the story we did, but that gives a gist of how uh, why that bill is problematic and what it does.
Right. So, finally, given the way governments are approaching AI regulation right now, a lot of it is, left on the platforms to monitor. For example, in India, also the government has been issuing advisories to intermediaries, asking them to strictly comply to the IT rules. So, do you think this is an adequate response to AI content on the internet?
I don't think it's adequate, but I also don't know what's the right way to do it,
Um,
because that's something that all countries are grappling with. Uh, Placing the onus on platforms is not going to work because of the because platforms themselves are going to face a lot of challenges in detecting deepfakes. We had
right.
a event last month where we had one of the researchers from UC Berkeley, Gautam, who had explained how detecting deepfakes is such a hard problem that they've only been able to achieve accuracy in a controlled lab setting. And once the deepfake content
Hmm.
is already on social media platforms, so it's very hard for the platforms to detect them. So when that is the case, it's hard for us to expect platforms to proactively remove such content. We can expect them to remove content after it's being flagged. That's a
Hmm.
fair ask of the government, and that's what India's IT rules does. But that doesn't address the entire AI problem, as you know. So that's one of the problems of placing the onus on the platforms. And the other problem with the government coming up with other kinds of rules is it might end up with rules like the No AI Fraud Act, which
Hmm.
infringes on the freedom of speech and expression. Or it might come up with something like the Defiance Act, which is also problematic because it places the onus on the victim. So there is no clear answer to it. So I don't want to say that the government is doing wrong, but I'm just also not able to tell what might
It's
be the
not.
right approach over here. I think this is something that there's more dialogue required, and that's something that's happening also. So yeah, we
Hmm.
can expect some other solutions to this problem.
Right. Thanks, Sarvesh. For our viewers, if you're curious about AI related news and tech policy developments in general, do check out our website medianama.com and also follow our YouTube channel for more such quick explainers and quick takes.